The human mind is like a big ball of clay, capable of being molded into many different shapes. Very often, it is society that sticks its hands into the clay and goes to work. Although the concept of othering is practiced daily, people in general have no clue what this means. Think of it this way. Othering is looking at another person or group and seeing all the things that make them different from you. These things are the things that keep them from being the same as you, thus making them others.
Othering is a term coined by Edward Said, which refers to the stressing of perceived weaknesses of outsiders as a way of reinforcing the alleged strength of those in positions of power. The other can be perceived as both positive and negative. It can relate to an object of desire, whether materially a Persian rug, or psychologically that shy, reserved person that lies within us. My theme, The Exotic Other, is a reference to the abstract forms of otherness. Therefore, exotic culture refers to the cultures and aspects of cultures which are distant and exclusive. The exotic other can be found in TV, film, food, and carnivals. Food, so indicative of a country's identity, can be perceived as exotic. Chinese, Indian, Thai, escargot, foie gras, and caviar. Everything about Chinese culinary culture is an example of exotic otherness, from the cultural practice of dining to the cultural products listed on its menus. The opening of more Chinese-themed food restaurants allows more people to access the exotic culture and bring in Chinese food and style into the British mainstream culture, although it does not quite rival the exotic Indian, which has top billing in the world of British food.
The English believe it's a slur on your host's food if you don't clear your plate. Whereas the Chinese feel you're questioning their generosity if you do. At HSBC, we never underestimate the importance of local knowledge. Which is why we have local banks staffed by local people in over 80 countries across the globe.
Chinese restaurants usually use rounded tables compared to the British square or rectangular shape, which from a Marxist perspective demonstrates democracy and equality, with no one sitting on head of the table in position of power. Different colours associated with Chinese dynasties of the past include blues, greens, reds and yellows. These colours symbolise royalty, power and money, similar connotations to the initial view on Chinese cuisine. These colours flood the Chinese culinary environment with a feel of power, value and status. Chinese New Year also references the status of the culture as a whole, having a celebration based on their own new year. The sci-fi film genre is exotic because they belong to a fantasy genre with the themes usually involving magic, mythology or exotic fantasy worlds.
I became a Marine for the hardship. I told myself I can pass any test a man can pass. All I ever wanted was a single thing worth fighting for.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are not in Kansas anymore. You are on Pandora.
The film Avatar, with the use of CGI, is able to construct an imaginative environment and context with visual appeal of escapism and exclusivity. Losing out in the Oscars because of it being different or the other, votes were directed towards The Hurt Locker, which was more appealing as it was part of mainstream culture. Although within the film, when the two cultures collide, conflict is caused. The appeal of the film Avatar was a hit within mainstream culture, with sales going through the roof. This shows the exotic other has positively been received by the mainstream culture. Carnivals bring together cultures and cultural identity into a celebratory event. Initially found in Brazil, representing their cultural image through the non-verbal communication, their cultural dance, dress and music. This idea has now been copied and is now common practice across the globe, with many countries adopting the concept, such as the Notting Hill Carnival in the UK, with hundreds of thousands of people lining the streets to watch the carnival, which shows the power it holds within culture and onlooking cultures. These carnivals hold traditional power and status in their native areas, becoming part of people's annual rituals and therefore culture. The exotic other is increasingly becoming more accessible with the increased amounts of globalization and technology available to us. Consequently, the exotic other is starting to form links between mainstream cultures. These links between the exotic other and mainstream cultures are only going to become closer until they merge into the mainstream.